page 2. Here we have a function, and we're supposed to just add f and g, so that would be x squared, so f plus g of x would be x squared minus 2x plus x plus 1, which turns into be x squared minus x plus 1. Now it says to do f times g of x. So we're going to take x squared minus 2x, take that times x plus 1, and I could leave it like that, or I could go ahead and multiply it. X times x squared is x to the third plus x squared, and then minus 2x squared, and then minus 2x, and those two can be combined, so I'd have x to the third minus x squared plus 1 minus 2 is minus 1, and then minus 2x. Then part C, we're supposed to do f of the difference quotient, so we have to do, this might be a little bit tight to get it all in there, but we'll give it a shot. We have to do f of x plus h, so we're going to have x plus h in for the x of that, so that's squared, minus 2 times that x. That's f of x plus h. Now minus f of x, which is x squared minus 2x, all over h. So that becomes x plus h squared is x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 2x minus 2h minus x squared plus 2x all over h. So we have x squared and minus x squared, we're going to cancel. We have minus 2x and plus 2x, they're going to cancel. So we're going to have 2xh plus h squared minus 2h over h, and the h will factor out of the numerator and become h times x 2x plus h minus 2, and that's all over h, and these h's will cancel, and we get 2x plus h minus 2. And there's those answers. Okay, number 7. Identify the parent function and describe the transformations of the parent function. So the parent function, this is y equals x squared. And we just have to describe the transformations. We don't have to do them. So the first thing would be what's working on the x. So that would be minus 1 from the x, which moves it. X minus 1 moves it right 1. So that has to be horizontally. Nothing else working inside the function, inside the parent function. So the next thing happens is outside, and those go in order of operation. So that minus 5, the minus 0.5, the negative flips over x-axis because it's working in the y direction, and the 0.5, everything works normal, not opposite, so this is half of the y height, so it compresses vertically to half the heights. And then finally the plus 2 is a vertical shift up 2. Okay, that's number 7. Number 8. For the function, determine the average rate of change from -2 to 0. Average rate of change is just whether it's sloping up or down. And then say whether it's increasing or decreasing. And that'll depend on that slope. So we have to put in -2 and see the rest of the point. So 7 minus -2 squared is 4 times 0.1 is 0.4. So we got 7 minus 0.4, which is 6.6. And that's one of the points. The next point is 0. And if we put in 0, we get 7. And the slope between these 2 points would be the average rate of change. So 7 minus 6.6 is 0.4, divided by 0 minus a minus 2 is 2, so that is 0.2, so it is positive 0.2, so increasing. The average rate of change is 0.2. Number 9. Find the intercepts, the line of symmetry, and the vertex. This is a parabola, and clearly this parabola has been moved 2 to the right. So the vertex has to be 2, and then up 8. So that's the vertex. And if that's the vertex, then the line of symmetry is x equals 2. And then line of symmetry, vertex, and intercepts. So when x is 0, we get 0 minus 2, which is -2, squared, which is 4, times 5, which is 20, plus 8 is 28. So that is the y-intercept. Now to find the x-intercept, we make this be 0. So we'd have 0 equals 5x minus 2 squared plus 8. Subtract 8 from both sides. Divide by 5. Take the square root, but that's negative, so we will have no real y or x intercepts. And if you wanted to check that out, this is a parabola that's opening up, and it's been moved up 8, so it doesn't even get close to the x-axis. You could take a look at that, but there's no x-intercepts, but I would love for you to show me why. Okay, number 10. So we have another parabola. It's just not written in order. This is y equals f of x, y, a negative x squared, so it's upside down, and plus 6x plus 7. And if we go find the vertex, we would do minus b, -6, over 2a, over 2 times -1 is -2. That turns out to be 3, so the line of symmetry is going to be x equals 3. The vertex is going to be at 3, and put 3 in there, we get 3 squared is 9, so we get -9. 3 in here, we get plus 18 plus 7. -9 plus 18 is positive 9, plus 7 is 16. That's where the vertex is. And Find out if it has a maximum or minimum. Well, if it's an upside down parabola, it's going to have a maximum. And it's going to be a maximum of the height, 16. And that happens at x equal 3. And that's 10. 11. Now, it doesn't say graph, but that's a good way to get a handle on this. So this has got a problem at -5. One, two, three, four, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. There's going to be either a vertical asymptote or a hole. Since there's no x plus 5 in the numerator, it'll be a vertical asymptote. It's going to have a problem at 2, and there's not a problem with 2 in the numerator, so at 2 there's going to be a vertical asymptote, and at -1. Now the numerator tells you when it's going to be what makes the y value be 0. So we're going to find x-intercepts. There'll be an x-intercept at -2. There'll be an x-intercept at +3, and 1 at 0. Now, since this is an asymptote, this curve could be above or below. Notice the degree of the numerator is 3, and the degree of the denominator is 3, x to the third. And so we do the ratio of the coefficients for a horizontal asymptote, since they're both the same, and this is going to be 1x times 1x times 1x. So you're going to have 1x cubed as the numerator, leading coefficient, and the denominator we're going to have x times -x times x. So that's going to be -1x cubed. So we look at the leading coefficients, and that's -1. So there's a horizontal asymptote at -1. Now, this graph, and when it gets really large, will approach this asymptote of -1. So it either is up here or down here. Now we could put in a number less than -5. So less than -5 would be -6. That would make that negative, that negative, that negative. So 3 negatives is negative. Over that would be negative. That would be positive, and that would be negative, and so that would be a negative times a positive times negative is positive, and a negative over positive is negative, but we still don't know whether it's less than 1 or more than 1. But if you graph it in your calculator, you'll see it's down here. So that's where it's less than 0. There's where it's equal to 0. So we don't want that piece. Then we can check in here below the y-axis, below -1 or -2, like -3. -3, that's going to be minus, that's going to be minus, and that's going to be minus. 3 minuses is minus. Over -3 would make that plus, and that plus, and that minus. So that would be over a minus, which is plus. So it's a positive up here, and probably going down here. So it's positive from -5, not including -5, positive or equal to 0, up to -2, and -2 is where it crosses, so that would be equal to 0, and so we could keep that one. Then it goes down, and then we'd have to check over here, put in a half or something, and so if I put -1/2, -1/2, that would be positive, that would be negative, and that would be negative. So positive, negative, negative is positive for the numerator, and the denominator would be -1/2, that would be positive, -1/2, that would be positive, -1/2, that would be positive. So we get positive over positive, which is up above, so that is counts, and so we want to go from -2 or -1 to 0, and we can include the asymptote, cannot, and we can include the 0 because it says including, so it can include the 0. This probably continues on going down, and then since it crossed here and it goes closer to this line as we go to infinity, we already know it must be here above 0, go this way, and so it must work from 2 to 3. We can include 3 because that's where it'd be 0. We cannot include 2 because that's an asymptote. And so there would be the answer to 11. And we could check that on the calculator. Perhaps we should do that just for everybody's deal before I leave this one. So I'm going to type this in, and I want to make sure you know how to type that in. So I would have to type the numerator in parentheses, and so parenthesis, then parenthesis x plus 2, close parenthesis for that, parenthesis x minus 3, close parentheses on that, and an x. And now close the parenthesis of the numerator, divided by, start the denominator with a parenthesis. Now the denominator has a parenthesis x plus 5, close parenthesis. It has parenthesis 2 minus x, close parenthesis, and parenthesis x plus 1, close parenthesis, and close the denominator. Zoom 4. So we didn't see this part way over here, but we did see this part out here where it comes down, it's positive, it's greater than or equal to 0 from 2 to 3, and then it crosses and goes negative, like we had here. It's positive up to 0 from minus 1 to 0, minus 1 to 0, including the 0, but not the minus 1. And it's positive starting back here at 5, so if I go zoom 6, we'll see it back there. It's negative over here, and it's positive from negative 5 up till negative 2. Okay, so there was that graph.